Clara Jane Whitmore dropped to her knees on the wooden platform, her fingers trembling as she gathered the torn pieces of her own photograph from the dust. The man who was supposed to become her husband had just spit at her feet and walked away without a single word. The summer heat of Wyoming pressed down like a punishment from God, and she had exactly 47 cents to her name. No family, no home, no future. Then two small hands touched her shoulders, and two identical voices whispered, "Please don't cry, pretty lady." If this story touches your heart, please like and subscribe to follow Clara's journey. Comment your city below so I can see how far her story travels across the world. Now, let's begin. The summer of 1878 began with the screech of train wheels against iron rails. Clara Jane Whitmore stepped onto the platform at Elkhorn Station, Wyoming Territory, clutching her single carpet bag against her chest like a shield. 3 weeks. 3 weeks she'd traveled west from Boston, surviving on hope and hard bread, rehearsing the words she'd say to the man who'd sent for her. Mr. Edgar Prescott. "My name is Clara. I've come as we agreed." Simple words, safe words. She scanned the crowd. 15, maybe 20 people milling about. Cowboys in dusty hats, women in calico dresses, children chasing each other between wagons. Then she saw him. A man in a fine gray vest stood apart from the others, holding a photograph. Her photograph. The one she'd sent 3 months ago, when she still believed pretty words on paper meant something true. Their eyes met. Edgar Prescott looked at the picture, looked at her. His gaze traveled slowly down her body, her sun-reddened cheeks, her travel-worn dress, her figure that curved in ways the photograph hadn't shown. Clara's heart hammered. She took a step forward. "Mr. Prescott, I'm Clara. Clara Whitmore. He tore the photograph in half. The sound cut through the summer air like a gunshot. Clara froze, her words dying in her throat. Edgar Prescott dropped the pieces at her feet. Then he turned and walked away. Just like that. No explanation, no words, no backward glance. Clara stood paralyzed. The platform fell silent around her. She could feel every eye turning toward her, could feel the weight of their stares pressing against her skin like brands. "Well," a woman's voice rang out, sharp and satisfied. "I suppose that's that, then." Clara turned slowly. A woman in an emerald green dress stood near the station house, fanning herself with deliberate slowness. Her eyes glittered with the particular brightness of someone witnessing another's humiliation. "Agnes," a man's voice warned. "What? I'm only stating the obvious, Walter." The woman, Agnes, clicked her fan shut. Mail order arrangements are always a gamble. The photograph clearly didn't match the merchandise. Merchandise. The word landed like a slap. Clara felt heat crawling up her neck, burning behind her eyes. "Now hold on," the man called Walter stepped forward. Gray-haired, kind-faced, wearing a shopkeeper's apron. "That ain't fair, Agnes. The girl just got off a 3-week train ride. She needs to understand reality." Agnes's smile was thin and sharp. "Edgar Prescott is a respectable businessman. He has standards. Obviously, this young woman misrepresented herself in her letters. Men don't appreciate deception. I didn't deceive anyone." Clara's voice came out hoarse, barely above a whisper. "The photograph was taken 4 months ago. I'm exactly who I claim to be." Agnes laughed. Actually laughed. "Oh, honey. You're claiming that photograph is accurate?" Her eyes swept over Clara's figure with pointed disdain. "I think Mr. Prescott would disagree." Clara's hands began to shake. She looked down at the torn photograph at her feet, half her hopeful face looking up from the dust, the other half trampled under Edgar Prescott's boot. This couldn't be happening. This wasn't how it was supposed to go. Is there somewhere I could... Clara's throat closed around the words. She forced herself to continue. A boarding house, perhaps, until I can arrange... Boarding house is full, Agnes cut her off with evident pleasure. Miners came through last week, took every bed. And even if there were room, Mrs. Patterson runs a respectable establishment. She won't take on a woman with... She paused, letting the silence do its damage. This kind of situation attached to her name. Agnes, that's enough. Walter's voice had hardened. Miss, do you have family back east? Someone we could wire for train fare? The question, kindly meant, nearly broke Clara completely. Family. What family? Her parents, dead of typhoid 2 years ago. Her aunt who'd taken her in, making clear every single day that Clara was a burden, an extra mouth, an inconvenience to be tolerated until she could be disposed of. The mail order arrangement had been her aunt's idea, a way to rid herself of Clara while appearing charitable. You should be grateful anyone wants you at all, her aunt had said. Don't expect too much. Clara hadn't expected too much. She'd expected basic human decency. A home. Someone who might eventually care for her. Was that too much? Apparently, yes. I have a little money, she managed. Perhaps I could... 47 cents won't buy you a bed for the night, let alone passage back to wherever you came from. Agnes had moved closer, her voice dropping to a stage whisper that somehow carried across the entire platform. Face the truth, girl. You're stranded. No money, no prospects, no place to go. This is what happens when women reach above their station. Clara's knees buckled. She didn't decide to kneel. Her body simply gave out, folding beneath her until her hands pressed against the hot wooden planks of the platform. Her fingers found the torn pieces of her photograph, and she gathered them mechanically, smoothing the fragments against her skirt. In the picture, she looked hopeful, young and hopeful, and stupidly, desperately naive. Tears blurred her vision. She blinked them back furiously, refusing to give Agnes the satisfaction of seeing her cry. Get up, she told herself. Get up, get up, get up. But her body wouldn't obey. The weeks of travel, the hope she'd carried like a flame against the darkness, the crushing weight of public rejection, it all pressed down on her shoulders, pinning her to the ground. Should we fetch the sheriff? Someone murmured. She can't just stay there on the platform. Someone should do something, another voice added. It's indecent. What would you have us do? Take in a stranger? A woman no one knows, with no references, who clearly lied to secure a husband? Agnes again. Always Agnes, with her sharp voice and sharper judgments. Clara closed her eyes. Maybe, if she stayed very still, she would simply disappear, dissolve into the wooden planks and blow away on the summer wind. Then 2 small hands touched her shoulders. Clara's eyes flew open. 2 little girls stood before her. Identical faces, identical dark braids, identical gray eyes wide with concern. Twins, no more than 6 years old. Please don't cry, pretty lady, one of them whispered. Are you lost? The other asked. We get lost sometimes too. Papa always finds us. Clara stared at them, unable to form words. Where had they come from? She hadn't seen any children nearby. Lily, Rose, a man's voice, deep and rough, carrying the authority of someone accustomed to being obeyed. Clara looked up, and up, into a face weathered by sun and hardship. He wasn't old, perhaps 35, but he carried himself with the worn solidity of someone who'd earned every line on his face through honest labor. Gray eyes, startlingly pale against tanned skin, a jaw that looked carved from granite. He stood between Clara and the watching crowd, his broad shoulders blocking out the rest of the world. "Girls, step back."
"But Papa, she's crying."
The twin called Lily, or was it Rose, tugged at his sleeve.
"You said we should always help people who are crying."
"I said—" The man stopped. His jaw worked. "That ain't exactly what I said."
"You said tears mean someone needs kindness."
The other twin nodded solemnly.
"And we have lots of kindness, more than we need. You said that too."
The man's expression flickered, something between exasperation and love. He crouched down, putting himself at eye level with Clara. This close, she could see the small scar above his left eyebrow, the flecks of darker gray in his pale eyes, the way his calloused hands hung loose and unthreatening at his sides. "Ma'am?" His voice was quieter now. "You hurt?" Clara shook her head, then nodded, then shook her head again. The conflicting gestures probably made her look addled, but she couldn't seem to find words. "She's not hurt, Papa." Rose, it must be Rose, with the tiny freckle by her left eye, leaned in conspiratorially. "She's sad. That mean man tore up her picture and walked away. We saw everything." Hush now. But the man's eyes had gone hard, flicking toward the direction Edgar Prescott had disappeared. "That's so." Edgar Prescott. Walter had moved closer, his voice careful. The girl came out as a mail-order bride. He took one look and rejected the arrangement. Right here on the platform, in front of everyone. A muscle jumped in the man's jaw. "Did he now?" "Samuel, don't." Walter's tone held warning. "It's a civil matter. The man has every right to refuse." Didn't ask about his rights. The man, Samuel, rose to his full height, which was considerable. Asked what he did. "He was cruel." This from one of the twins. "Mama always said cruel people have small hearts. Is his heart small, Papa?" Samuel's expression softened as he looked down at his daughter. "Your mama was right about a lot of things, little bird." "Then we should help the sad lady. Mama would want us to help." Clara watched this exchange as if from a great distance. The mention of Mama in past tense. The way Samuel's face shifted when his daughters invoked her memory. The easy affection between father and children. "Ma'am," Samuel crouched again, meeting Clara's eyes directly. "You got anywhere to go?" She should lie, should claim she had prospects, plans, anything to salvage what remained of her dignity. But she was so tired of pretending. "No," the words scraped her throat raw. "I have nowhere." "No one." "Family back east?" "Dead, all of them." "Money for train fare?" 47 cents. Samuel nodded slowly, as if this information confirmed something he'd already suspected. Behind him, Agnes made a disgusted sound. "Samuel Thornton, surely you're not thinking of—" "Mind your business, Agnes." The words were mild, but something in Samuel's tone made Agnes snap her mouth shut. He turned back to Clara. "I got a ranch about 5 miles south of here. Cattle, horses, chickens. Been running it alone since my wife passed 3 years back." He said it matter-of-factly, no self-pity, just stating the situation. "The girls need things I can't give them. Proper meals, clean clothes. Someone to tend them while I'm working." Clara's breath caught. "I ain't offering charity," he continued, his gray eyes steady on hers. "I'm offering a job. Work in exchange for room and board. Temporary arrangement until you figure your next move." "Samuel," Walter's voice was uneasy. "Think about this. A young, unmarried woman living at your ranch. People will talk." "Let them talk." Samuel didn't look away from Clara. "They'll talk anyway about what happened here today. Least this way, she'll have a roof while they're doing it." "But the impropriety. Was it proper what Prescott did? Leaving a woman stranded with nothing?" Samuel's jaw tightened. Seems to me the impropriety already happened. I'm just trying to fix what I can. Silence fell over the platform. Even Agnes had nothing to say. Clara looked at the man before her. A stranger. A widower with twin daughters and a ranch 5 miles from town. He was offering her shelter when she had none. Work when she had no prospects. Basic human decency when the world had shown her only cruelty. She should be suspicious. Should question his motives. Should wonder what kind of man took in strange women off train platforms. But his daughters stood beside him, their small hands now resting on his arms, looking at Clara with identical expressions of hope. "Please say yes," their eyes seemed to say. "Please come home with us." "I work hard." Clara's voice came out stronger than she expected. "I cook, I clean, I can tend livestock. I kept house for my aunt and her whole family for 2 years. I won't be a burden." "Didn't figure you would be." Something that might have been respect flickered in Samuel's eyes. "Can you stand?" Clara wasn't sure. Her legs felt like water, but she nodded and began to push herself up. A large hand appeared in front of her face. Samuel's hand, offered without ceremony. She took it. His grip was firm and warm, calloused from years of ranch work. He pulled her to her feet easily, steadying her when she swayed. "Wagon's just down the street." He released her hand as soon as she was stable. "We can get you settled before dark." Clara bent to pick up her carpet bag, still clutching the torn photograph fragments in her other hand. She looked at them one last time, her own hopeful face destroyed, then let them fall back to the dust. She wouldn't need them anymore. "Let's go," she said. The twins immediately flanked her, each taking one of her hands as if they'd been waiting their whole lives for someone to hold on to. "I'm Lily," said the one on her left. "I'm Rose," said the one on her right. "And you're going to be our friend," they said together, perfectly synchronized. "Papa promised." Clara looked at Samuel over their heads. He hadn't promised anything of the sort, but he didn't correct them. "Let's not keep the horses waiting," was all he said. As they walked toward town, Clara felt the weight of watching eyes following them. Agnes's gaze burned hottest of all, heavy with disapproval and something that might have been envy. Let her watch. Let them all watch. For the first time since stepping off that train, Clara Jane Whitmore felt something other than despair. It wasn't hope. Not yet. It was too soon for hope. But it was something. The wagon was old but sturdy, built for work rather than comfort. Samuel lifted the twins into the back, where they settled among feed sacks and supplies with the ease of children who'd made this trip 100 times before. Then he turned to Clara. "Ma'am?" He gestured toward the wagon seat, waiting for her to climb up. When she struggled with her heavy skirts, he didn't comment, just offered his hand again, steadying her until she was settled. Clara pressed her palms against her thighs to hide their trembling. The reality of her situation was beginning to sink in. She was about to ride off into the wilderness with a man she'd known for less than 15 minutes. Samuel climbed up beside her and gathered the reins. The horses, a matched pair of chestnuts, shifted, eager to move. "Papa," Rose called from the wagon bed. "Can the pretty lady sit with us?" "She's fine where she is." "But we want to show her our treasures." "Treasures can wait till we get home." "But Papa—" Rose, the single word, spoken without heat, but with unmistakable finality, silenced the protest. The wagon lurched forward, and Clara gripped the seat as they rolled away from Elkhorn Station. She didn't look back. Couldn't bear to see the platform where her dreams had died, the faces of people who'd witnessed her humiliation. Instead, she looked ahead. The road cut through open grassland that seemed to stretch forever, rolling away toward distant mountains. The summer air smelled of sage and dust and something wild she couldn't name. Should be about an hour's ride, Samuel said, not looking at her. Road's rough in places. Hang on when I tell you.
Yes, sir.
His mouth twitched. Ain't a sir. Just Sam. Sam. She tested the name. It fit him. Short, solid, unpretentious. They rode in silence for a while, the only sounds the creak of the wagon, the steady clop of hooves, and the girl's quiet chatter from behind them. Clara's mind raced, replaying everything that had happened. Edgar Prescott's dismissive glance, the photograph torn in half, Agnes's cruel words. The photograph clearly didn't match the merchandise. She flinched at the memory. Don't! Clara startled at Sam's voice. Don't what? Whatever you're thinking right now, don't. He kept his eyes on the road, his hands steady on the reins. Man who'd do what Prescott did ain't worth the space in your head. You don't know what I'm thinking. I got a pretty good idea. He glanced at her briefly. You're wondering what's wrong with you, what you did wrong, what you could have done different. Clara's throat tightened. That was exactly what she'd been thinking. Nothing, Sam said. That's the answer. You did nothing wrong. What happened back there? His jaw hardened. That's on him. His cruelty, his smallness. Got nothing to do with you. He looked at me like I was livestock that didn't meet specifications. Then he's a damn fool. The words were blunt, unvarnished. A woman's worth ain't in her face or her figure. It's in her character, what she does when things get hard. Clara stared at him. You don't even know me. I know enough. Sam's pale eyes met hers for a moment before returning to the road. I know you stood on that platform with everyone watching, and you didn't fall apart. I know you got back on your feet. I know my girls took to you instantly, and they don't take to just anyone. He paused. That tells me more than any photograph. Something cracked open in Clara's chest. All the tears she'd been holding back threatened to spill over. Why are you being so kind to me? The question came out raw, vulnerable. Sam was quiet for a long moment. When he spoke, his voice had roughened. My wife, Mary. He swallowed. She came west as a mail-order bride, too. The man who sent for her died of cholera 2 weeks before she arrived. Left her stranded, just like you. Clara's breath caught. Someone took her in, gave her work until she could figure her next move. Sam's hands tightened on the reins. That someone was my ma, and my ma introduced Mary to me, and Mary became... He stopped, his throat working. She became everything. Best thing that ever happened to me. Gave me those 2 little birds back there. Gave me 10 years of something good before the fever took her. Clara didn't know what to say. Sorry seemed inadequate. Everything seemed inadequate. Point is, Sam continued, if someone hadn't helped Mary when she needed it, I never would have known her. Never would have had my girls. The whole life I built. Everything I got. It all started because one person showed kindness to a stranger. He looked at Clara directly. Today I had a chance to do the same. Wasn't no way I was walking past that. Clara turned away, pressing her hand against her mouth to stifle the sob building in her chest. The tears came anyway, sliding silently down her cheeks. Sam didn't comment on her crying, didn't offer empty comfort or awkward reassurances. He just drove on, giving her space to feel what she needed to feel. From the back of the wagon, small voices piped up. Papa, is the pretty lady sad again? She's just tired, Lily. Long journey from wherever she came. Boston, Clara managed, wiping her face. I came from Boston. Boston! Rose scrambled toward the front of the wagon bed, her eyes wide. Is that a real place? Is it far? Very far. 3 weeks on the train. 3 weeks! Lily joined her sister. That's forever. Didn't you get bored?
Sometimes. But I read books and watched the country go by outside the window. You can read? Both girls spoke at once, their voices bright with awe. Real books? With lots of words? Yes. The twins exchanged glances that seemed to communicate entire conversations. Can you teach us? Rose asked. Papa tries, but he doesn't have time for proper lessons. We know our letters, but the words get all jumbled up.
I can try. Really? You promise? Clara looked at their eager faces, so full of hope and trust. These children didn't know her, didn't know anything about her except that she was sad and alone and had appeared out of nowhere. Yet they were ready to welcome her, ready to claim her as their own. I promise, she said. The girls cheered, bouncing up and down until Sam warned them to settle before they tumbled out of the moving wagon. The road stretched on beneath the endless summer sky. Clara's tears dried in the warm wind. Ahead, the mountains waited, purple-blue and eternal. She didn't know what tomorrow would bring, didn't know if this arrangement would work, if she could truly build a life from the wreckage of her hopes. But for the first time in years, she wasn't alone. And maybe, just maybe, that was enough. The Thornton Ranch appeared as the sun began its descent toward the mountains. Clara's first impression was of organized chaos. Buildings that needed repair, fences that sagged in places, weeds pushing up through what must have once been a garden. But beneath the neglect, she could see the bones of something good. A solid house, a sturdy barn, land that stretched out in all directions, rolling grassland broken by clusters of cottonwood trees. Sam pulled the wagon up near the house and helped the girls down. They immediately ran toward a chicken coop, calling out to birds named Henrietta and Clementine and Miss Priscilla. House needs work, Sam said, not looking at Clara. Been doing what I can, but there's only so many hours in a day. I can see that. Kitchen's functional, garden's mostly dead. Bedrooms are upstairs. There's a spare room you can have. Small, but it's got a window and a door that locks. He said the last part deliberately, letting her know she'd have privacy, security. Clara filed this information away, adding it to her growing understanding of who this man was. Thank you, she said. Sam nodded once and moved toward the horses, beginning the work of unhitching them from the wagon. Clara climbed down carefully, her muscles protesting after the long ride. She stood in the yard, carpetbag in hand, trying to absorb the reality of where she was. 5 miles from town, an isolated ranch in Wyoming territory, a widower and his twin daughters. This morning, she'd expected to become Edgar Prescott's wife. Now she was... what? A hired housekeeper? A temporary guest? A woman with no better options? All of those things. None of those things. You gonna stand there all evening, or you gonna come see your room? Clara turned. The twins had returned, flanking her like small sentinels. We'll show you everything, Lily announced. The house and the barn and the chickens and the special hiding place under the porch, where we keep our treasures. Don't forget the scary part of the attic, Rose added. That's important too. Why is it scary? Because that's where Mama's things are. Papa put them there after she went to heaven. We're not allowed to touch them. The matter-of-fact delivery of this information made Clara's chest ache. Well, she said, forcing her voice to stay steady, let's start with my room. Then you can show me the rest. The girls grabbed her hands and pulled her toward the house, chattering the entire way about which chicken laid the best eggs, and how the barn cat had just had kittens. And did Clara know how to make apple pie? Because they hadn't had apple pie since Mama died, and that was practically forever ago. Clara let their words wash over her, let their small hands anchor her to the present moment. She'd lost everything today. But maybe, just maybe, she'd also found the first fragile threads of something new. The spare room was exactly as Sam described. Small, simple, with a narrow bed pushed against one wall and a dresser that had seen better days. But it had a window that looked out toward the mountains, and when Clara tested the door, the lock clicked solidly into place. "This was the storage room," Rose explained, bouncing on the bed to test its springs. "Papa moved all the boxes to the barn so you could sleep here." "When did he do that?" "This morning, before we went to town." Clara's hand stilled on her carpet bag. "This morning? But he didn't know I was coming." The twins exchanged one of their mysterious glances. "Papa said we were going to pick up feed," Lily said slowly. "But he also said, sometimes God puts people in your path for a reason, and you gotta be ready." "He made up the bed last night," Rose added. "We helped. We thought maybe he was finally getting us a new mama. But he said no, that wasn't it. He just had a feeling." Clara didn't know what to make of this information. Sam had prepared a room before he'd even met her, before he'd known she existed. What kind of man did that? "You should come see the kitchen now." Lily tugged at her hand. "It's a mess. Papa can't cook worth nothing." "Anything," Clara corrected automatically. "That's what I said. Nothing." The kitchen was worse than a mess. It was a disaster. Dirty dishes piled in the wash basin. Grease splattered across the stove. Something that might have once been bread sat petrified on the counter, hard enough to use as a weapon. Clara's fingers itched to start cleaning immediately. "When did you last have a proper meal?" she asked. The girls looked at each other. "Mrs. Patterson made us proper meals," Rose said. "But she left. 2 months ago," Lily added. "Papa's been cooking since then. We mostly eat burned things." "Everything tastes like smoke," Rose agreed solemnly. "Even the eggs." Clara rolled up her sleeves. "Show me where the supplies are." For the next 2 hours she worked. The girls helped where they could, fetching water and firewood, chattering constantly about everything and nothing. Clara scrubbed and organized and took stock of what was available. Flour, salt pork, dried beans, some potatoes starting to sprout, a few sad-looking onions. Not much, but enough. By the time Sam came in from the barn, Clara had the kitchen transformed and a simple meal simmering on the stove. Beans with salt pork, fried potatoes, and biscuits that weren't fancy, but were at least edible. Sam stopped in the doorway. "Something smells—" He trailed off, apparently unable to find the right word. "Like actual food?" Clara offered. "Yeah." He moved into the kitchen slowly, as if he didn't quite trust what his senses were telling him. "Yeah, that's it. Sit down, it's almost ready." He sat. The girls scrambled into their chairs. Clara served the food with efficient movements, then took her own seat, suddenly nervous. What if it wasn't good enough? What if she'd misjudged the seasonings? Sam took a bite, then another. Then he looked at Clara with an expression she couldn't quite read. "This is good." "It's just beans and—" "It's good," he cut her off, his voice rough. "First meal that's tasted like something worth eating in a long while." "Papa, you're going to make her think you're crying," Lily stage whispered. "I ain't crying." "Your eyes are all shiny." "That's the steam from the food." "There's no steam, Papa." "Eat your dinner." The girls giggled and obeyed, and Clara felt something warm bloom in her chest. Such a small thing, a meal. But watching this man and his daughters eat food she'd made, watching them enjoy it, it felt like the first real accomplishment she'd had in years. After dinner, Sam insisted on cleaning up. "You cooked, we clean. That's how it works here." Clara watched him at the wash basin, his large hands surprisingly gentle with the dishes, while the girls dried with towels that kept slipping from their small fingers. It was inefficient and took twice as long as it needed to,
But there was something in the scene that made Clara's throat tight. Family. This was what family looked like. She'd almost forgotten. "Miss Clara?" Rose appeared at her elbow, tugging at her sleeve. "Will you braid our hair before bed? Papa tries, but he makes them all crooked." "I do not," Sam protested without turning around. "You do, Papa. Remember last Sunday, when Lily's braid came undone in church, and Mrs. Henderson said it looked like birds had been nesting in it?" "Mrs. Henderson talks too much." "But it's true. Can Miss Clara do our braids? Please?" Clara looked at Sam, waiting for permission. He glanced over his shoulder, something flickering in his gray eyes. "If she's willing." "I'm willing." The braiding took place in the main room, the girls seated on the floor in front of the fireplace while Clara worked. Their hair was tangled and hadn't been properly brushed in days, maybe weeks. She worked through the knots as gently as she could, apologizing each time they winced. "Mama used to do this," Lily said quietly. "Every night before bed. She'd brush our hair 100 strokes, and then braid it so it wouldn't tangle while we slept." "Do you remember that?" Clara asked softly. "Sort of. Mostly I remember the feeling. Like being safe." Clara's hands faltered for just a moment. Then she resumed the familiar motions, weaving Lily's dark hair into a neat plait. "I remember her singing," Rose offered. "She sang while she brushed, but I can't remember the words anymore, just the sound." "That's normal," Clara said. "I can't remember my mother's voice either. But I remember her hands, the way they felt when she touched my face." "Your mama died too?" "Yes, when I was 16. The twins were silent for a moment, processing this information with the solemnity of children who understood loss better than they should. "Then you're like us," Lily finally said. "You know how it feels." "I suppose I do." "That's good." Rose nodded firmly. "People who know how it feels are better at being kind." Clara finished the braids and sat back to admire her work. 2 neat plaits, tight and even, tied with bits of ribbon the girls had produced from their pockets. "Perfect," Lily breathed, touching her braid reverently. "Look, Rose, they're perfect." The girls ran to show their father, who was pretending to read by the fire, but had clearly been watching the entire scene. His eyes met Clara's over their heads, and something passed between them. Gratitude, understanding, the beginning of trust. "Time for bed," Sam said gruffly. "Say goodnight to Miss Clara." The girls threw their arms around Clara's neck, nearly knocking her backward.
"Night, Miss Clara. Thank you for our braids. Thank you for dinner. Don't leave, okay? Promise you won't leave." The last words were whispered into Clara's ear, fierce and frightened, and Clara felt something shift inside her chest. "I'll be here in the morning," she said carefully. "I promise that much." It seemed to be enough. The girls released her and thundered up the stairs, their footsteps shaking the whole house. Sam rose slowly, setting aside his book. "I'll get them settled. You should rest. Tomorrow comes early on a ranch." "Sam." He paused at the foot of the stairs. "The last woman who worked here, Mrs. Patterson. What happened to her?" His jaw tightened. "She lasted 3 months. Said the ranch was too isolated. I was too quiet. The work was too hard. Said she wasn't cut out for this kind of life." He paused. "She ain't the first to feel that way. Won't be the last." "I'm not her." "I know." But something in his eyes suggested he wasn't entirely convinced. "Get some sleep. Morning comes fast." He disappeared up the stairs, and Clara was left alone in the quiet kitchen. She stood there for a long moment, listening to the unfamiliar sounds of this new place. The house settling, wind in the grass outside, distant lowing of cattle, and above her,
the soft murmur of Sam reading his daughters to sleep, his deep voice too low for her to make out the words. She'd come west expecting one future and found something entirely different. Not easier, not simpler, but maybe, just maybe, worth building. Clara climbed the stairs to her small room and closed the door behind her. Through the window, stars blazed across the sky, more than she'd ever seen in Boston. Tomorrow would bring work, hard work, endless work, the kind that wore you down to the bone. But tonight, for the first time in years, Clara fell asleep without fear. The rooster crowed before dawn, and Clara was already up. Old habits died hard. Years of rising before her aunt's household to start the fires and the breakfast had trained her body to wake in darkness. She dressed quickly and made her way downstairs, navigating the unfamiliar stairs by feel. The kitchen was cold, the stove dead, but she'd laid everything out the night before. Within 20 minutes, she had coffee brewing and biscuits in the oven. Sam appeared just as the coffee finished. He stopped short when he saw her. "You're up early." "Habit." He accepted the cup she offered, wrapping his large hands around it. "You didn't have to." "I wanted to." Clara met his eyes. "This is the arrangement, isn't it? I work, you give me a place to stay. I'm just holding up my end." Something shifted in his expression. Most folks need a few days to settle before they start earning their keep. "I'm not most folks." The corner of his mouth twitched. It wasn't quite a smile, but it was close. "No," he said. "I don't reckon you are." They drank their coffee in companionable silence as the sky lightened. When the girls came tumbling down the stairs, still rubbing sleep from their eyes, breakfast was ready and waiting. "Biscuits!" Lily squealed. "Real biscuits that aren't burned." "I told you Papa can't cook," Rose said sagely. "Didn't I tell you?" "You might have mentioned it once or twice." Clara set plates in front of them. "Now eat up. We've got work to do today." The girls looked at their father, then back at Clara. "What kind of work?" "Garden work. I saw that vegetable patch yesterday. It's a disgrace." "Mama planted that garden," Rose said quietly. Clara's hands stilled on the coffee pot. She hadn't known. Of course she hadn't known. How could she have? "Then we should honor it by bringing it back to life," she said carefully. "Don't you think that's what she'd want?" The twins exchanged one of their silent communications. "Papa tried," Lily said finally, "but nothing grows for him. He says plants don't like him. Plants don't like or dislike anyone. They just need proper care." Clara looked at Sam, checking for permission. "If it's all right with you, I'd like to try." He was quiet for a long moment. Then he nodded once, sharply. "Do what you want with it. Mary would hate seeing it the way it is now." After breakfast, Sam headed out to work with the cattle, and Clara led the girls to the garden. It was worse than she'd realized. Weeds choking everything. Plants wilted and dying. The soil cracked and dry. But underneath the neglect, she could see the bones of what it had been. Someone had laid out these rows with care. Someone had planted with hope. "All right, girls, here's how we're going to do this." They worked through the morning, Clara pulling weeds while the twins hauled water. It was hard, hot, physical labor, but the girls threw themselves into it with enthusiasm. "Is this enough water, Miss Clara?" "A little more. See how the soil drinks it up? That means it's been thirsty for a long time." "Will the plants get better now?" "Some of them. Others are too far gone. But we'll save what we can and plant new things in the empty spaces." Around mid-morning, a rider appeared on the road from town. Clara straightened, shading her eyes against the sun. Her stomach clenched with sudden fear. The rider drew closer, and she recognized him. Walter from the general store. the kind-faced man who'd tried to help her at the station. He pulled up near the garden and tipped his hat. "Miss Whitmore. Or, I suppose I should say, Miss Clara."
"Mr. Walter?"
"Just Walter, ma'am." He dismounted slowly, his expression troubled. "I came to bring you a warning." Clara's hands tightened on the hoe she'd been using. "What kind of warning?" "Agnes Hartley's been talking. She's got half the town convinced you're some kind of, well," he cleared his throat,
"some kind of loose woman who came west looking for a man to trap. Says you threw yourself at Sam Thornton the minute Prescott rejected you." The words hit Clara like physical blows.
"That's not true. None of that is true."
"I know it, ma'am. Anyone with sense knows it. But Agnes has a loud voice, and not everyone in Elkhorn has sense." Walter twisted his hat in his hands. "I just thought you should know what's being said, so you can be prepared."
"Prepared for what?"
"For people treating you poorly when you come to town. For whispers and stares and doors closing in your face." He looked genuinely distressed. "It ain't fair. What happened to you wasn't your fault. But fair don't always win out here." Clara felt the familiar cold weight of injustice settling in her chest. She'd done nothing wrong. Nothing. And still, she would be punished for it.
"Thank you for telling me,"
she said, her voice steadier than she felt. "There's more." Walter glanced toward the house, lowering his voice. "Agnes is saying that if Sam Thornton has any decency, he'll send you packing. She's organizing some of the church ladies to come talk to him, convincing that having you here is improper."
"When?"
"Tomorrow, maybe. Day after. Soon." Clara's mind raced. She'd been here less than a day. Less than a day, and already the vultures were circling. "I appreciate the warning, Walter." He mounted up again, still looking troubled. "Miss Clara, for what it's worth, my wife Helen thinks you got a raw deal. She'd like to call on you sometime, if that's all right. Bring some supplies, maybe some fabric. She says every woman needs another woman to talk to." The unexpected kindness made Clara's eyes sting. "I'd like that." Walter nodded and rode off, leaving Clara standing in the half-weeded garden with her thoughts in turmoil. "Miss Clara?" Rose had appeared beside her, small face worried. "Who was that man? Why did he make you look sad?" Clara forced a smile. "Just someone from town. Nothing to worry about." "You're lying." Lily had joined her sister, arms crossed. "We can always tell when grown-ups are lying. Their faces do a funny thing." Clara almost laughed, despite everything. "You're right. I'm sorry. The truth is, some people in town are saying unkind things about me being here." "What kind of things?" "Things that aren't true. But that doesn't stop people from believing them." The twins processed this with the gravity of children who'd learned too young that the world wasn't always fair. "Mrs. Henderson says mean things about Papa sometimes," Rose offered. "She says he's strange because he doesn't talk much, and he didn't remarry after Mama died. She says it's unnatural for a man to raise girls alone." "What does your Papa say about that?" "He says some people got nothing better to do than mind other folks' business, and we should feel sorry for them because their lives must be very boring." Clara laughed, a real laugh this time. "Your Papa sounds like a wise man." "He is. He just doesn't like people knowing it." Lily took Clara's hand. "Don't worry, Miss Clara. Papa won't let the mean ladies make you leave. He never lets anyone push him around." "How do you know he won't?" The twins exchanged their mysterious glance again. "Because he looked at you the same way he looks at us," Rose said simply. "Like you're something precious that needs protecting." Clara didn't know what to say to that. She squeezed the small hands holding hers and turned back to the garden. "Come on, we've got work to finish." But all through the long afternoon,
Walter's warning echoed in her mind. Agnes Hartley and her church ladies were coming to convince Sam to send her away.
What would he do? What would she do if he agreed? Sam came in for supper looking bone-tired, dust coating every inch of him. He washed up at the pump while Clara finished the meal. A stew this time, stretched thin with vegetables from the garden they'd managed to salvage. "Heard Walter came by," he said as he sat down. Clara's hands stilled on the ladle. "You heard?" "Saw him riding away. Figured it was either good news or bad, and not much good news comes from town these days." He met her eyes. "Which was it?" Clara hesitated. The girls were right there, eating their stew, pretending not to listen while clearly hanging on every word. "Perhaps we could discuss it after dinner." "Fair enough." The meal passed in unusual quiet. Even the twins seemed to sense the tension in the air. When the dishes were cleared and the girls sent up to get ready for bed, Sam and Clara stood alone in the kitchen. "Tell me." Clara told him everything. Agnes's rumors, the church ladies planning to visit, the whispers and judgment and doors that would close. Sam listened without interrupting, his face growing harder with every word. When she finished, he was silent for a long moment. "That's it?" he finally said. "Isn't that enough?" "Agnes Hartley's been running her mouth about me and mine since Mary died. Thinks I should have remarried within the year, given my girls a proper mother. Thinks I'm failing them by doing it alone." His jaw tightened. "Woman's never worked a day in her life, never raised children, never done anything harder than decide which hat to wear to church. And she thinks she gets to judge how I run my household?" "She has influence." "She has a loud voice. That ain't the same thing." Sam moved closer, his gray eyes boring into hers. "Clara, I told you this was your home for as long as you needed it. I meant that. I don't give a damn what Agnes Hartley or her church ladies think."
"But your reputation." "My reputation is my own business. And if people want to talk, let them talk. I know the truth. You know the truth. My girls know the truth." He paused. "That's all the truth that matters." Clara felt tears threatening again. This man, this quiet, stubborn, decent man, was standing up for her without hesitation. When had anyone ever done that? "Why?" The question came out broken. "You barely know me. Why would you risk your standing in town for a woman you met yesterday?" Sam was quiet for a moment. When he spoke, his voice was rough. "Because I saw what Prescott did to you. Saw how you held yourself together when everything was falling apart. Saw how my girls took to you like they've been waiting for you their whole lives." He swallowed. "And because Mary would haunt me from her grave if I let fear of gossip make me abandon someone in need." The tears spilled over. Clara couldn't stop them. She pressed her hand against her mouth, trying to contain the sobs building in her chest. "Hey now," Sam's voice softened. "None of that." "I'm sorry, Don't apologize. You've had a hell of a couple days. You're entitled to cry if you need to." He pulled a clean handkerchief from his pocket and pressed it into her hand. "Just don't let Agnes Hartley see you do it. Woman feeds on other people's tears." Clara laughed through her crying, a wet, undignified sound. "That's terrible." "It's true." The corner of his mouth twitched. "Get some rest. Whatever comes tomorrow, we'll face it together." Together. The word wrapped around Clara like a blanket. She climbed the stairs to her room, still clutching Sam's handkerchief. Through the wall, she could hear the twins whispering to each other, their voices too low to make out the words. Tomorrow, Agnes Hartley would come. Tomorrow, Clara would face judgment and scrutiny and the weight of a small-town suspicion. But tonight,
She wasn't alone. And for now, that was enough. The church ladies came the next afternoon. Clara was in the garden when she heard the wagon approaching. 3 women in their Sunday best, led by Agnes Hartley, in a dress so aggressively cheerful it seemed designed to intimidate. Sam emerged from the barn before Clara could move. He positioned himself between the approaching wagon and the house, arms crossed over his chest, face set in stone. "Ladies?" "Samuel." Agnes descended from the wagon with exaggerated dignity. "We've come on a matter of Christian concern." "That's so." "It's about the young woman you've taken in." Agnes's eyes found Clara in the garden, narrowing with distaste. "Surely you understand how improper this arrangement appears. An unmarried woman living under your roof, with no chaperone, no references, no—" "She has references. Her work speaks for itself." "But the appearances, Samuel. Think of your daughters." "What kind of example are you setting?" "The example that, when someone's in trouble, you help them." Sam's voice was flat and hard. "That's the example my wife would have wanted me to set." Agnes flinched at the mention of Mary. Mary was a godly woman who understood propriety. Mary was a mail-order bride who got stranded just like Clara did, and someone helped her when she needed it. That's the only reason she lived long enough to become my wife and mother my children. Sam took a step forward, and Agnes actually stepped back. "You want to talk to me about what Mary would think?" "Mary would be ashamed of you, Agnes, coming here to chase off a woman who's done nothing wrong." "Samuel, we're done here. The church can mind its own business. And so can you." Sam's voice dropped, dangerous and low. "You've said your piece. Now get off my land." Agnes's face had gone white, then red. She drew herself up to her full height, which barely reached Sam's shoulder. "You'll regret this, Samuel Thornton, when that woman shows her true colors, when she breaks your daughters' hearts, when—" "I said we're done." The words were final, absolute. Agnes retreated to her wagon, the other ladies following in mortified silence. Within minutes, they were heading back toward town, leaving only dust in their wake. Clara realized she'd been holding her breath. She released it slowly, her hands trembling against the hoe. Sam turned and walked toward her. His face was still hard, but when he reached her, some of the tension drained from his shoulders. "You heard all that?" "Most of it." He nodded. "Agnes won't give up easy. She'll keep talking, keep stirring up trouble. You should know that." "I know." "And you still want to stay?" Clara looked at him. This man who'd just defended her against his entire community, who'd invoked his dead wife's memory to protect a woman he barely knew, who stood between her and the world's cruelty like it was the most natural thing he'd ever done. "Yes," she said. "I still want to stay." Something shifted in Sam's eyes. Relief, maybe, or something deeper. "Good," he said. "That's good." He turned and walked back toward the barn, and Clara watched him go, her heart beating hard against her ribs. She'd been in Elkhorn for 2 days, and already, impossibly, she was starting to feel like she belonged. 2 weeks passed, then 3. Clara fell into the rhythm of ranch life like she'd been born to it. Up before dawn, coffee and biscuits, garden work in the cool morning hours, lessons with the girls after lunch, supper on the table when Sam came in from the fields, braiding hair, reading stories, falling into bed exhausted, but strangely content. The garden was recovering. Green shoots pushed through soil that had been dead and cracked. The tomato plants lifted their leaves toward the sun. Even the stubborn squash vines showed signs of life. "You've got a gift," Sam said one evening, watching Clara inspect a row of beans. "Mary always said some people just know how to make things grow." "It's not a gift, it's just attention. Caring about something enough to tend it properly." Sam was quiet for a moment.
Maybe that's the same thing. The girls had stopped calling her Miss Clara. Now it was just Clara, spoken with the easy familiarity of family. They followed her everywhere, helped with every task, asked 1,000 questions a day. Clara, why did chickens cluck? Clara, can you teach us to make pie? Clara, will you stay forever? That last question came more often as the weeks passed. Clara never knew how to answer it. She'd say, "We'll see," or "Let's focus on today," or simply change the subject.
The truth was, she didn't know what the future held. Didn't know if this arrangement would last, if Sam would eventually need her gone, if something would happen to shatter this fragile peace. She tried not to think about it, tried to live in the present, in the small daily joys of work and purpose and belonging. But at night, alone in her room, the fears crept in. The heat wave hit in early August. Clara woke to air that felt thick as wool, pressing against her skin even before the sun rose. By mid-morning, the temperature had climbed to something brutal, the kind of heat that made breathing feel like work. "Keep the girls inside," Sam said before heading out to check on the cattle. "Heat like this can drop a grown man. I don't want them out in it." "What about you?" "Cattle don't care about heat. They still need water and checking on." He paused at the door. "I'll be back by dark, maybe sooner if I can manage it." The day crawled by. Clara kept the girls occupied with indoor lessons, with baking, with stories and games. But the heat wore on everyone. By afternoon, even the twins' endless energy had flagged. "I don't feel good," Rose said, pushing away her lunch. "My head hurts." "It's the heat, sweetheart. Drink more water." "I already drank lots." Clara pressed her hand to Rose's forehead. Warm, but not alarmingly so. Probably just the weather. "Why don't you lie down for a bit? Lily, you too. A rest will do you both good." The girls didn't protest, which told Clara just how drained they were. She got them settled in their room and returned to the kitchen, trying to find tasks that didn't require moving much in the suffocating heat. An hour later, she checked on them. Lily was sleeping peacefully, but Rose... Clara's hand flew to the child's forehead. Burning. Not just warm from the heat, but genuinely, frighteningly hot. "Rose? Rose, wake up!" The girl's eyes fluttered open, unfocused and glazed.
Clara, my head hurts really bad.
"I know, sweetheart. I know." Clara fought to keep her voice calm. "Can you drink some water for me?" Rose tried, but most of the water dribbled down her chin. She was shaking now, chills that made no sense in the sweltering room. Lily stirred, woken by the commotion. "What's wrong with Rose?" "She's got a fever. I need you to be a big girl for me, Lily. Can you do that?" Lily nodded, her face pale with fear. "Good. I need you to go to the well and bring back a bucket of cold water. Can you carry it?" "I think so." "Go, fast as you can." Lily ran. Clara stripped Rose out of her dress, leaving her in just her thin shift. The child's skin was so hot it hurt to touch. "It's okay, baby. It's going to be okay." But her hands were shaking. This was bad. This was very, very bad. Lily returned with the water, sloshing half of it on the floor in her haste. Clara didn't care about the mess. She soaked cloths and laid them on Rose's forehead, her neck, her wrists.
"Is she gonna die?"
Lily's voice cracked.
"Like Mama?"
"No." Clara said it with a firmness she didn't feel. "No, she is not going to die. Don't even think that."
"But Mama had a fever too. Mama—"
"Lily." Clara gripped the girl's shoulders, looking directly into her terrified eyes. "I need you to be strong right now. Your sister needs you to be strong. Can you do that?" Lily swallowed hard and nodded.
Good. I need you to do something else for me. Do you know which way your papa went this morning?
South pasture. He always checks the south pasture first when it's hot.
How far is that?
A mile, maybe? I'm not sure.
A mile. In this heat. Clara's mind raced. I can't leave Rose alone to go find him, and I can't send you out in this heat. She thought frantically.
Is there a bell? Something to signal for help? There's the dinner bell. On the porch. Papa can hear it from the near fields.
What about the south pasture? Lily's face fell.
I don't know. Maybe.
It was the only chance they had. Stay with your sister. Keep putting cool cloths on her. I'm going to ring that bell until your papa comes home. Clara ran to the porch and grabbed the bell. It was heavier than she expected. Cast iron, meant to carry across distances. She rang it. Rang it again. Rang it until her arms burned and her ears rang with the sound. Then she stopped, listening. Nothing. She rang again, and again. Still nothing.
Please, she whispered. Please, Sam, hear me.
She'd been ringing for maybe 10 minutes when she saw the dust cloud on the horizon. A rider, moving fast. Too fast for the heat, pushing the horse harder than was safe. Sam. He reached the house at a dead gallop, jumping off before the horse had fully stopped. What happened? The girls... Rose has a fever, a bad one. His face went white. How bad? Bad. I've been trying to cool her down, but he was already inside, taking the stairs 3 at a time. Clara followed, her heart pounding against her ribs. Sam dropped to his knees beside Rose's bed, his large hand trembling as he touched her cheek. Jesus, she's burning up. The fever came on fast. Less than 2 hours ago she was fine.
Papa?
Rose's eyes opened, struggling to focus.
Papa, I don't feel good.
I know, baby, I know. Sam's voice cracked. Papa's here now. Papa's going to take care of you. He looked at Clara, and she saw something in his eyes that made her blood run cold. Fear. Raw, animal fear. This is how it started with Mary, he said, barely above a whisper. Fever that came out of nowhere. We thought it was just the heat. We thought... This isn't Mary. Clara moved beside him, gripping his arm hard enough to bruise.
Rose is not Mary. She's young and strong, and we caught this early. Do you hear me?
Sam stared at her, his gray eyes wild.
Sam,
I need you here. I need you present. Your daughter needs you. Can you do that? Something shifted in his face. The panic receded, replaced by grim determination. Tell me what to do. They worked through the rest of the day and into the night. Clara kept the cool cloths coming, trying to bring down the fever that showed no sign of breaking. Sam forced water between Rose's lips when she was conscious enough to swallow. Lily sat in the corner, silent and terrified, refusing to leave her sister's side.
You should rest, Clara told her. You won't help Rose by wearing yourself out. I can't sleep. What if she...
Lily's voice broke.
What if something happens and I'm not here?
Clara pulled the girl into her arms.
Nothing is going to happen. We're going to fight this, and we're going to win. Your sister is strong, stronger than the fever. Promise?
Clara hesitated. She shouldn't make promises she might not be able to keep, but looking into Lily's devastated face, she couldn't find it in herself to be careful.
I promise.
The night stretched on, each hour longer than the last. Rose drifted in and out of consciousness, sometimes lucid enough to ask for water, sometimes mumbling words that made no sense. Around midnight, Sam sent Lily to bed over her tearful protests.
You need sleep. Clara and I will watch over Rose. If anything changes, we'll wake you.
When Lily was gone, Sam slumped against the wall, his head dropping into his hands. "I can't lose her." His voice was raw. "I can't. Mary's death nearly destroyed me. If Rose... Don't." Clara knelt beside him, taking his hands in hers. "Don't go to that place. Not yet. We're still fighting." "I keep seeing it. Seeing Mary in that bed, watching her slip away. The fever took her so fast. One day she was fine, and then..." He broke off, his throat working. "Tell me about her." Sam looked up, surprised. "What?" "Mary. Tell me about her."
Not the dying. Tell me about who she was. For a long moment, he didn't speak. Then, slowly, words began to come. She was fierce. That's what I remember most. Small woman, barely came up to my shoulder, but fierce as any man I ever knew. When something needed doing, she did it. When something stood in her way, she went through it or around it. His voice softened. She loved those girls more than life itself. Used to sing to them every night, brush their hair 100 strokes, tell them they could be anything, do anything, long as they were brave enough to try. She sounds remarkable. She was, and she'd be spitting mad at me right now for giving up before the fight's even over. Sam looked at Rose, sleeping restlessly on the bed. She'd tell me to get off my backside and fight for our girl. Then that's what we do. They fought. Through the darkest hours of the night, they fought. Clara changed cloths until her arms ached. Sam walked circles around the room, unable to sit still, watching his daughter's every breath as if he could will her to keep breathing by sheer force of attention. Around 3 a.m, Rose's fever spiked higher. She started shaking violently, her small body convulsing with chills that made no sense. "What's happening?" Sam grabbed Clara's arm. "What do we do?" "Wrap her up. I know it seems wrong, but we need to let the fever burn itself out." Clara's hands were steady, even though her heart was racing. "Get me more blankets." Sam ran to obey. They wrapped Rose in layers, holding her between them as the chills racked her body. "I'm scared," Rose whimpered. "I'm so cold." "I know, baby, I know." Clara stroked her hair. "But you're doing so good. You're so brave. Just keep fighting." "I don't know how." "Yes, you do. You're a Thornton. Your papa said Thorntons never give up, remember?" "I remember." Rose's teeth chattered. "Mama used to say that too." "Then believe it. Your mama knew what she was talking about." The shaking went on for nearly an hour. Clara held Rose while Sam held them both, his arms wrapped around Clara's shoulders, anchoring all of them together. They didn't speak, just breathed, just waited, just hoped. And then, gradually, the shaking stopped. Rose's breathing evened out. Her body relaxed. Clara pressed her hand to the child's forehead and felt, "The fever's breaking." Her voice came out strangled. "Sam, feel her." Sam's hand replaced hers. For a moment he didn't move, didn't breathe. Then a sound escaped him, something between a sob and a laugh. "It's going down. Jesus Christ, it's going down." Rose's eyes opened, clearer than they'd been in hours. "Papa, why are you crying?" "I ain't crying." "Yes, you are. Your face is wet." "That's sweat. It's hot in here." "Liar." But Rose smiled weakly. "I feel better. Tired, but better." Clara collapsed back against the wall, her entire body shaking with relief. They'd done it. They'd actually done it. The fever had broken. Sam gathered Rose into his arms, holding her like she was made of glass. "Don't you ever scare me like that again, you hear? Don't you ever." "I didn't mean to, Papa."
I know, baby, I know. He was crying openly now, tears streaming down his weathered face. Go back to sleep. Real sleep this time. Papa's going to be right here. Rose's eyes were already closing.
Clara too?
Yeah, Clara too.
Good.
Rose snuggled deeper into her father's arms.
I like Clara. She makes everything better.
Within minutes, she was asleep. Real sleep. Peaceful sleep. The kind that healed. Sam looked at Clara over his daughter's head. His eyes were red, his face haggard, but something in his expression made Clara's breath catch. Thank you, he said. I couldn't have done this alone. I would have fallen apart.
You wouldn't have. You'd have fought for her no matter what.
Maybe. But you made me believe we could win.
He reached across Rose's sleeping form and took Clara's hand. I owe you everything, Clara. Everything.
You don't owe me anything.
Clara's voice broke.
She's become precious to me too. Both of them have.
They sat like that for a long time, hands linked across the sleeping child, watching the first gray light of dawn creep through the window. The fever was gone. Rose was going to be all right. But something had changed between them in the long, dark hours of that night. Something that couldn't be unchanged. Lily found them like that when she crept in at first light, her father and Clara, side by side, hands clasped, keeping watch over Rose together.
Is she?
Lily's voice trembled. She's going to be fine. Sam opened his arm, and Lily flew into his embrace, squeezing in next to her sister. Fever broke a few hours ago. She just needs rest now.
I was so scared, Papa. I thought...
I know. But she's okay. We're all okay. Lily looked at Clara, her eyes shiny with tears.
You saved her.
We all saved her, together.
But you knew what to do. You didn't give up.
Lily wriggled free of her father's arm and threw herself at Clara.
Thank you. Thank you for not letting her die.
Clara held the child tight, feeling tears slip down her own cheeks.
I couldn't have done it without your papa. He was the brave one. You were both brave.
Lily pulled back, looking between them with an expression too old for her young face.
That's what families do, right? They're brave together.
Families. The word hung in the air, weighted with meaning. Clara didn't know what to say, didn't know if she had the right to claim that word, to claim these people as her own. But Sam was looking at her with something new in his eyes, something that looked terrifyingly like hope.
Yeah,
he said quietly.
That's what families do.
Rose slept through the morning and into the afternoon, waking only briefly to drink water and eat a few bites of broth before drifting off again. Clara watched over her, while Sam saw to the neglected chores, moving through his tasks with mechanical exhaustion. When he came back in that evening, Clara had supper waiting. Simple food, but hot and filling. He ate without tasting, his eyes constantly drifting toward the stairs.
Go check on her, Clara finally said. I'll clean up.
He didn't argue, just rose from the table and headed up. Clara washed the dishes slowly, listening to the sounds of the house settling around her. Through the open window, she could hear the evening sounds of the ranch. Horses nickering, chickens settling for the night. The distant low of cattle. This had become familiar. This had become home. And tonight, she'd nearly lost part of it. The fear she'd been holding at bay all day finally caught up with her. Her hands started shaking so badly she had to set down the dish she was washing.
Clara?
She turned. Sam stood in the kitchen doorway, watching her with concern.
You're shaking. I'm fine.
You're not. He moved closer. You held it together all night, all day. But you don't have to hold it together anymore. The tears came then,
sudden and overwhelming. Clara pressed her hand over her mouth, trying to stop them, but they wouldn't be stopped.
Hey, hey now.
Sam's arms came around her, pulling her against his chest.
It's all right. Let it out.
Clara sobbed into his shirt, all the terror and exhaustion and relief pouring out of her. She couldn't have stopped crying even if she'd wanted to. Sam held her through it all, didn't try to shush her or fix her or make it better, just held her, solid and steady, letting her fall apart. When the tears finally slowed, Clara became aware of how close they were standing. His heart beating under her cheek, his arms warm around her. The smell of him, dust and sweat, and something uniquely Sam. She should step back, should put distance between them. She didn't move. Clara, Sam's voice was rough. I need to tell you something. She looked up. His gray eyes were intense, searching her face. These past weeks, having you here, it's changed things. For all of us. He swallowed hard. For me.
Sam,
let me finish. Please. He took a breath. I told myself this was just an arrangement. Practical. Temporary. Told myself I was helping you out because it was the right thing to do. Same as someone helped Mary. His jaw tightened. But that was a lie. I knew it was a lie the first night when I watched you braid my daughter's hair, and they looked at you like you hung the moon. Clara's heart was pounding so hard she could barely breathe.
I think...
Sam stopped, started again. I think I've been falling for you since that day at the platform, when you gathered up those torn pieces of your photograph and got back on your feet. When you refused to stay down, no matter how much the world was trying to break you. His hand came up, cupping her face. You're the strongest woman I've ever known. And I... Don't! Clara's voice cracked. Don't say it unless you mean it. I mean it. His gray eyes burned into hers. I love you, Clara. Not because you take care of my girls, or because you cook and clean and keep this place running. I love you because you're you. Because you make me want to be better than I am. Because when I think about the future, I can't picture it without you in it. Clara stared at him, unable to speak. All the words she wanted to say tangled in her throat. If you don't feel the same way, I understand, Sam continued, his voice dropping. You can stay as long as you need either way. I won't make this awkward. I needed you to know. After tonight, I couldn't not tell you.
Clara reached up and laid her hand over his, where it still cupped her face.
I love you too,
she whispered. I've been trying so hard not to, telling myself I was being foolish, that you couldn't possibly want someone like me, that I was setting myself up for another rejection. A tear slipped down her cheek. But I can't help it. I love you. I love your girls. I love this life that I never expected and didn't think I deserved. Sam's forehead dropped against hers. You deserve everything good in this world, Clara, and I want to spend the rest of my life giving it to you. Is that a proposal? It's a promise. He pulled back, meeting her eyes. Marry me. Not because it's convenient or proper or practical. Marry me because I love you, and you love me, and that's the only reason that matters. Clara laughed through her tears.
Yes.
Yeah?
Yes. 1,000 times yes.
Sam kissed her then, soft and sweet and full of promise.
Clara melted into him, feeling something click into place inside her chest. Like a key turning in a lock. Like a door swinging open to a room she'd been searching for her whole life. When they finally pulled apart, they were both smiling like fools. The girls are going to lose their minds, Sam said. Should we tell them tonight?
Let Rose rest. Tomorrow soon enough. He pulled Clara close again, tucking her head under his chin. Tonight, let's just have this. Just us. They stood like that for a long time, wrapped in each other, listening to the quiet sounds of the house. Tomorrow there would be practical matters to discuss, wedding plans, gossip to face, a whole new life to build. But tonight, Clara Jane Whitmore closed her eyes and let herself believe in something she'd given up on years ago. A future, a family, a home. Morning light spilled through the kitchen window as Clara stood at the stove, making breakfast for the fourth time as Sam Thornton's future wife. The word still felt strange in her mind. Wife. She was going to be someone's wife. Not someone's, Sam's. She touched her lips, remembering his kiss. Remembering the way he'd held her, the words he'd spoken, the promise he'd made. "You're smiling." Clara spun around. Rose stood in the doorway, wrapped in a quilt, looking pale but alert. "What are you doing out of bed?" "I'm hungry." Rose shuffled toward the table. Real hungry. Not broth hungry. Biscuit hungry. Clara's heart lifted. Appetite was good. Appetite meant healing. "Sit down. I'll make you something." "Where's Papa?" "Barn. He'll be in soon." Rose settled into her chair, watching Clara with eyes that missed nothing. "Something's different." "What do you mean?" "You look different. Happier." Rose tilted her head. "Did something good happen?" Before Clara could answer, Lily came thundering down the stairs. "Rose, you're up!" She threw herself at her sister, nearly knocking the chair over. "I was so scared."
You were so sick and your face was all red and— "I know, I remember some of it."
Rose hugged her twin tight.
"I dreamed about Mama."
The kitchen went quiet. "What kind of dream?" Lily whispered.
"She was singing. That song she used to sing, about the mockingbird. And she told me I had to wake up because there was someone who needed me here."
Rose looked at Clara.
"I think she meant you."
Clara's throat closed. She turned back to the stove, blinking hard.
"I think she meant all of us," Lily said softly. "I think Mama sent Clara to us."
The door opened and Sam walked in, bringing the morning air with him. He stopped short when he saw Rose at the table. "You're supposed to be in bed."
"I'm hungry."
"You can be hungry in bed."
"Papa, I'm fine. See?"
Rose held out her arms.
"No more shaking, no more fever. Clara fixed me."
Sam's eyes met Clara's across the room. Something private passed between them, a shared memory of the long night, the fear, the relief.
"Clara did more than that," he said quietly.
The girls looked between their father and Clara, their twin instincts picking up on the undercurrent.
"What's going on?" Lily asked. "You're both being weird."
Sam pulled out a chair and sat down heavily. He looked at Clara, a question in his eyes. She nodded. "Girls, I need to tell you something." He took a breath. "I asked Clara to marry me last night, and she said yes." Silence. Then Rose screamed. Not a scream of fear or pain, but pure, unbridled joy. She launched herself out of her chair and into Clara's arms, nearly knocking them both to the floor. "I knew it! I knew it! I told Lily you were going to be our mama." "When?" Lily was crying, tears streaming down her face even as she smiled. "When did you know?" "When she braided our hair that first night. The way she touched my head. It felt like Mama used to feel." Rose was crying too now. "I prayed for it, every night. I prayed God would make you our Mama for real."
Clara held both girls, her own tears falling freely.
"Are you sure this is what you want? It's a big change. I don't want you to feel like I'm trying to replace—" "You're not replacing.
Lily interrupted fiercely. You're adding. Mama's still our mama. But now we get you too. That's more, not less. That's right. Sam's voice was rough. That's exactly right. Rose pulled back, her face suddenly serious. But wait, if you marry Papa, what do we call you? Clara hesitated. Whatever you're comfortable with, I don't want to. Mama. Rose said it firmly. We want to call you Mama. Is that okay? The word hit Clara like a physical blow. Mama. She'd never expected to be called that. Never expected to have children of her own, let alone inherit two ready-made daughters who looked at her like she'd hung the stars. Yes, she whispered. That's okay. That's more than okay. Mama. Lily tested the word, then smiled. Mama. Our mama. Sam stood and wrapped his arms around all three of them, pulling them into a tight circle. My girls, he murmured. All my girls. They stayed like that for a long moment, tangled together, holding on. A family forged not by blood, but by choice. When they finally pulled apart, breakfast was cold and no one cared. The news spread through Elkhorn like wildfire. Walter brought the first report when he delivered supplies 2 days later. Whole town's talking, he told Sam and Clara. Agnes is fit to be tied. Says it's indecent, marrying after only a month. Says you've made a mockery of proper courtship. Agnes can go hang, Sam said flatly. That's more or less what Helen told her, Walter grinned. My wife's got a mouth on her when she's riled. Told Agnes if she spent half as much energy minding her own business as she does minding everyone else's, she might actually accomplish something useful. Clara laughed, surprised. I like your wife. She likes you too.
Wants to help with the wedding, if you'll have her.
I'd be grateful. Good. She's already planning. Fair warning. Once Helen gets an idea in her head, there's no stopping her. After Walter left, Sam found Clara in the garden, staring at nothing. Having second thoughts? No, she shook her head. Just thinking about how different everything is from what I expected. A month ago, I was on a train, terrified of meeting a stranger who was supposed to become my husband. Now I'm actually terrified of marrying someone I love. It's strange. Good strange or bad strange? Good. Definitely good. She turned to face him. When are we doing this? The wedding? Soon as possible, far as I'm concerned. Tomorrow, if you're willing. What about the girls? Don't they deserve a proper celebration? They deserve a family. The celebration is just decoration. Sam took her hands. But if you want something bigger, we can wait. Do it right. Clara thought about it. A real wedding, with a dress and flowers and guests. Or a quick ceremony that made them a family as soon as possible. Saturday, she said. That gives us 5 days. Enough time to prepare, not enough time for Agnes to organize a resistance. Sam grinned. Saturday it is. The days leading up to the wedding passed in a blur of activity. Helen arrived with fabric for a dress, taking Clara's measurements with brisk efficiency, while the twins watched with wide eyes. Nothing fancy, Clara protested. I don't need anything special. Every bride needs something special. Helen's tone brooked no argument. I've got cream cotton with little blue flowers. Mary bought it years ago, never got to use it. Sam said you should have it. Clara's hands stilled on the fabric. This was Mary's? Meant for a Sunday dress, I think, but she got sick before she could make it. Helen's voice softened. She'd want you to have it, Clara. She'd want her girls to see their new mama in something pretty.
The dress came together in 3 days of intensive sewing. Clara worked on it at night, after the girls were in bed, her fingers aching, but her heart full. Every stitch felt like a promise, a commitment, a vow she was making before the official vows were spoken.
On Thursday, Edgar Prescott came to the ranch. Clara was alone when the rider appeared. Sam had taken the girls to town for supplies, leaving her to finish the wedding preparations. She recognized the horse first, the showy gelding that had carried Prescott to the platform a month ago. Her stomach dropped. He dismounted near the porch, his face arranged in an expression she couldn't read. Not angry, not apologetic, something in between. Miss Whitmore, he caught himself. I hear congratulations are in order. Clara stood her ground on the porch steps, refusing to retreat into the house. What do you want? To talk, if you'll permit me. I don't think we have anything to discuss. I believe we do.
Prescott removed his hat, turning it in his hands. I owe you an explanation. For what happened at the platform. You don't owe me anything. You made your feelings perfectly clear. Did I? He took a step closer. Because I don't think I did. I think I made a mistake, and I've been regretting it ever since. Clara stared at him, unable to believe what she was hearing. A mistake? I was expecting someone different. The photograph. It didn't capture you accurately. You're more substantial than I anticipated. Substantial. The word tasted bitter. That came out wrong. Prescott ran a hand through his hair. I'm not good at this, at talking to women. That's why I sent for a mail-order bride in the first place. I thought if I could just describe what I wanted on paper, I'd get exactly that. But people aren't catalog orders, are they? No, they're not. When I saw you, I panicked. You weren't what I pictured, and I didn't know how to handle it. So I walked away. He met her eyes. I shouldn't have done it the way I did. Tearing up your photograph, leaving you stranded. That was cruel, and I'm sorry. Clara absorbed his words, waiting for the anger to come, the hurt, the vindication of finally hearing him admit he was wrong. But all she felt was nothing. No anger, no hurt. Just a vague sort of pity for this man who'd been so frightened of reality that he'd thrown away his chance at happiness rather than face it. Why are you telling me this now? Prescott's jaw tightened. Because I heard you're marrying Thornton. And I keep thinking, if I hadn't panicked, that could have been me. You could have been mine. I was never yours. Clara's voice was steady. Even if you'd accepted me that day, I never would have been yours. Because you don't want a wife, Mr. Prescott. You want a possession. Something to arrange on a shelf and admire. And I'm not that. I never was. That's not... Sam Thornton looked at me on that platform and saw a person. A woman with worth and dignity, even at her lowest moment. You looked at me and saw a disappointment. Clara stepped down from the porch, moving closer to him. You did me a favor that day. The biggest favor anyone's ever done me. Because your rejection led me to him, to his girls, to the family I was always meant to have. Prescott's face had gone pale. Clara, Miss Whitmore, we're not familiar enough for first names. She lifted her chin. Now, I think you should leave. My fiancé will be home soon, and I don't think he'd appreciate finding you here. I could give you more than Thornton can. More money, more comfort, an easier life. I don't want easy. I want real. Clara pointed toward the road. Goodbye, Mr. Prescott. For a long moment, he didn't move. Then something shifted in his expression. Defeat, maybe, or acceptance, and he mounted his horse. He's a lucky man, Prescott said quietly. I hope he knows it. He does. She watched him ride away, dust rising behind him until he disappeared over the hill. And then, finally, she let herself smile. Sam found her in the kitchen an hour later, humming while she prepared dinner. You're in a good mood. I had an interesting visitor while you were gone. His expression darkened immediately. Who? Edgar Prescott. Sam went very still.
What did he want? To apologize, apparently, and to tell me he'd made a mistake. Clara set down the knife she'd been using. He implied I could still choose him, that he could give me a better life. And Sam's voice was carefully controlled. And I told him to leave. Clara crossed to where he stood and took his hands. I told him his rejection was the best thing that ever happened to me, because it led me to you. Something in Sam's shoulders relaxed. You weren't tempted? Even a little? Not for a single second. Clara squeezed his hands. I love you, Sam Thornton.
That's not going to change, because a man who threw me away once decided he wanted me back.
Mama! Papa!
The twins burst through the door, arms full of packages.
We got ribbon for our hair, and Mrs. Helen sent sugar for the cake, and—
Lily stopped short, looking between her parents.
Are you kissing? You look like you're about to kiss.
We were talking, Sam said, but his ears had gone red.
About what?
Adult things.
That means kissing, Rose announced with authority. Grown-ups always say adult things when they mean kissing.
Clara laughed, the tension of the afternoon finally breaking.
How about you two help me with dinner instead of investigating our private conversations?
Will you kiss after dinner?
Lily.
What? I'm just asking.
The night before the wedding, Clara couldn't sleep. She lay in her small room, staring at the ceiling, listening to the familiar sounds of the house. Tomorrow, everything would change.
Tomorrow, she would become Sam's wife, the girl's legal mother, a permanent part of this family she'd stumbled into. Tomorrow, she would stop being alone. A soft knock came at her door.
Clara, you awake?
She sat up.
Come in.
Sam eased the door open, a candle in his hand.
Couldn't sleep either?
Too much thinking. He crossed to sit on the edge of her bed, setting the candle on the dresser. In the flickering light, his face looked younger, softer. Having doubts? No, just processing. Clara pulled her knees up to her chest. A month ago, I didn't know you existed. Now you're everything. It's a lot to take in. I know what you mean. Sam was quiet for a moment. When Mary died, I thought that was it for me. Thought I'd spend the rest of my life alone, just trying to keep the girls fed and clothed, and not completely ruined by my failure to be what they needed.
You're not a failure.
Felt like one, every day,
every time I looked at them and saw pieces of her looking back. His voice roughened. Then you showed up on that platform, and everything changed. It was like I could suddenly see a future that didn't hurt to think about.
Clara reached for his hand.
I felt the same way. When you offered me this place, I thought it was just survival. Somewhere to stay until I figured out what came next. I didn't expect to fall in love with your daughters. I definitely didn't expect to fall in love with you.
But you did.
I did.
She smiled in the candlelight.
Completely and totally and terrifyingly.
Sam lifted her hand to his lips and kissed her knuckles. Tomorrow, you'll be my wife.
Tomorrow, I'll be your wife.
Any last requests? Changes of heart? Opportunities to flee while you still can? Clara pretended to consider.
I suppose you could leave the window open. Give me an escape route.
Very funny.
I thought so.
They sat in comfortable silence, hands linked, the candle flame dancing between them.
The girls asked me something today, Sam said finally, while we were in town.
What?
They asked if we could have a baby, a brother or sister for them. He watched her face carefully. I told them that was something you and I would have to discuss. Clara's breath caught. A baby. She'd given up on that dream years ago, when it became clear no one wanted her as a wife. But now... Would you want that? She asked. More children? I'd want whatever makes you happy. Sam's gray eyes were steady on hers. If you wanted children, I'd be honored to give them to you. If you didn't, I'd be just as happy with the family we already have. The girls are enough, Clara. You're enough. I don't need anything more. But you wouldn't say no. I wouldn't say no. Clara felt something warm bloom in her chest. Let's see how it goes. One step at a time. That's all I ask.
He leaned in and kissed her, soft and sweet, a preview of tomorrow's promise. When he pulled back, his eyes were shining. Get some sleep. Tomorrow's a big day.
The biggest.
Second biggest. Sam stood, collecting his candle. Biggest day was when I looked across that platform and saw you. Everything since then has just been confirmation. He slipped out, closing the door quietly behind him. Clara lay back down, her heart full to bursting. Tomorrow she would marry Sam Thornton. Tomorrow she would become a mother, a wife, a permanent member of a family that had chosen her. Tomorrow she would finally, completely, utterly belong. The wedding day dawned clear and bright. Clara woke to the twins bouncing on her bed, their faces flushed with excitement.
It's today! It's today! You're marrying Papa today!
I noticed. Clara sat up laughing. Did you sleep at all?
A little, but mostly we talked about how everything's going to be perfect now.
Perfect? Well, mostly perfect. Lily's face grew serious. We know life's not actually perfect, but it's going to be better, because you'll be our mama forever, and Papa won't be sad anymore, and we'll be a real family. We were already a real family. A more real family then. Rose grabbed Clara's hand. Come on, Mrs. Helen is here and she says we have to do your hair special, and there's not much time because the minister's coming at 2. The morning passed in a flurry of preparations. Helen took charge with cheerful efficiency, braiding Clara's hair with wildflowers the girls had picked, helping her into the cream dress that fit like it had been made for her. You look beautiful, Lily breathed, when Clara finally emerged. Like a princess, Rose agreed. A real princess, not a pretend one. Clara studied herself in the small mirror Helen had brought. She barely recognized the woman looking back at her. Not because she looked different, but because she looked happy. Genuinely, deeply, radiantly happy. Ready? Helen asked. Ready. They gathered on the porch. Clara, the twins, Helen and Walter, who'd been pressed into service as a witness. The minister stood waiting, prayer book in hand. And Sam. Sam stood at the bottom of the porch steps, looking up at her like she was the most precious thing he'd ever seen. He wore his Sunday clothes, the same ones he'd worn the day they met. His hair was slicked back, and his boots were polished, and his eyes were bright with tears he wasn't quite managing to hide. You're beautiful, he said hoarsely. You already knew that. I knew you were beautiful. I didn't know you could be more beautiful. He held out his hand. Ready to do this? Clara took his hand and stepped down to stand beside him. I've been ready since the moment you pulled me up off that platform. The minister cleared his throat. Shall we begin? The ceremony was simple. Clara would remember few of the specific words later, just the feeling of Sam's hand holding hers, the twins pressing close on either side, the summer breeze carrying the scent of sage and wildflowers. When the minister asked if she took Samuel Thornton to be her lawfully wedded husband, Clara's voice was clear and steady. I do. When Sam was asked the same question, his voice cracked on the words. I do. God help me, I do. Then, by the power vested in me, I pronounce you husband and wife." The minister smiled. "You may kiss your bride." Sam pulled Clara close and kissed her, and the twins cheered, and somewhere in the distance a bird sang, and Clara Thornton thought her heart might actually burst from happiness. They were married. They were a family. They were home. The celebration afterward was small but perfect. Helen had brought a cake. Walter had somehow procured a bottle of champagne. The twins had made decorations from paper and ribbon, stringing them across the porch until it looked like a party had exploded. "To Mr. and Mrs. Thornton," Walter toasted, raising his glass. "To our family," the twins added. "To second chances," Sam said quietly, looking at Clara, "and the people who give them." They ate cake and drank champagne and watched the sun begin its descent toward the mountains. Helen and Walter eventually said their goodbyes, leaving the new family alone together.
Papa?
Rose tugged at Sam's sleeve.
Can we show Mama the surprise now?
"What surprise?" Sam smiled. "Something the girls have been working on. Come on." They led Clara upstairs to her small room, her old room, she supposed, since she'd be sharing Sam's room now. But when she opened the door, she stopped short. The room had been transformed. New curtains hung in the window. A bright quilt covered the bed, and on the dresser sat a framed photograph. A photograph of Mary Thornton, young and beautiful and smiling. "We thought this could be your special room," Lily explained, "for when you need quiet time. And we wanted you to meet Mama. She can't be here, but we wanted her to be part of today anyway." Clara's eyes filled with tears as she looked at the photograph. The woman who had loved these children first. The woman who had made this family possible. "Thank you," she whispered. "Thank you for sharing her with me." "She would have liked you," Rose said firmly. "I know she would. She liked strong people, and you're the strongest person we know." Clara gathered both girls into her arms. "I promise to take care of them," she said to the photograph. "I promise to love them as much as you did. I promise to make you proud." Sam appeared in the doorway, watching his girls, all three of them now, with an expression of such love that Clara felt her heart crack open all over again. "Come on," he said softly. "Sun's almost down. Let's watch it set. Together." They gathered on the porch, the four of them, watching the sky turn gold and pink and purple. Rose sat on Sam's lap. Lily leaned against Clara's side, and Sam reached over to take Clara's hand, linking them all together. "I love you," he murmured. "All of you. So much."
We love you too, Papa. We love Mama too. We love our family.
Clara closed her eyes, letting the moment wash over her. The warmth of the bodies pressed close, the smell of sage on the evening air, the feeling of belonging, complete and absolute and eternal. She had come west expecting one life and found another. She had been rejected and found acceptance. She had been alone and found a family. And now, with the setting sun painting the mountains gold, and her husband's hand warm in hers, and her daughters' voices rising in the evening air, Clara Thornton knew without doubt that she had finally, completely, utterly found her way home. The first weeks of marriage passed like a dream Clara kept expecting to wake from. She moved her few possessions into Sam's room, their room now, and fell asleep each night wrapped in his arms, listening to his heartbeat against her ear. She woke each morning to the twins bouncing on the bed, demanding breakfast and braids and answers to 1,000 questions.
Mama, why do roosters crow? Mama, can you teach us to make bread? Mama, do you love Papa more than you love us?
That last question came from Rose one morning, her small face serious with worry. Clara set down her coffee cup. "Why would you ask that?"
Because married people are supposed to love each other most. That's what Mrs. Henderson told Lily at church.
She said, "Now that you're married, you'll love Papa best, and we'll be second." Clara's jaw tightened. Mrs. Henderson again. The woman seemed determined to poison everything good.
Come here, both of you.
The twins climbed into her lap, one on each knee.
Love isn't like a pie, Clara said firmly. It doesn't get smaller when you share it. Loving your papa doesn't mean I love you less. It means our family has more love in it, not less. But Mrs. Henderson said, Mrs. Henderson doesn't know what she's talking about.
Clara hugged them tight.
You two are my daughters. Nothing will ever change that. Not marriage, not time, not anything. Promise? Promise.
Sam found them like that when he came in for breakfast. His wife and daughters tangled together on the kitchen chair, holding on to each other like they'd never let go. "Everything all right?"
Mrs. Henderson's been talking again.
Sam's face darkened. "What did she say?"
Nothing worth repeating.
Clara met his eyes over the girls' heads. "But we might need to have a conversation with her. Soon." "I'll handle it." "No." Clara's voice was firm. "We'll handle it. Together." The opportunity came sooner than expected. Sunday morning, Clara dressed the girls in their best clothes and did their braids with extra care. Sam put on his Sunday suit, the same one he'd worn at their wedding. Together, the four of them rode into town for church. It was Clara's first time back in Elkhorn since the wedding. She felt eyes on her the moment they pulled up to the church. Curious stares, whispered conversations, the weight of small-town judgment pressing against her skin. "Just ignore them," Sam murmured, helping her down from the wagon. "They'll get bored eventually."
I'm not ignoring anything.
Clara squared her shoulders. "I'm done hiding from these people." They walked into church together, the twins between them, and took a seat in the middle pews, not at the back where newcomers usually sat, not hiding in the shadows. Right in the center, where everyone could see them. Agnes Hartley's face went purple when she spotted them. The service passed without incident, but Clara could feel the tension building. Agnes kept shooting glances their way, her fan snapping open and closed with increasing agitation. Afterward, as the congregation spilled out into the sunshine, Agnes made her move. "Mrs. Thornton," her voice carried across the churchyard. "How nice of you to show your face in decent company." Clara turned slowly. "Mrs. Hartley, I was hoping we'd have a chance to talk." "Were you?" Agnes's smile was sharp as broken glass. "I can't imagine what we'd have to discuss." "Oh, I think you can." Clara stepped forward, aware of Sam moving to her side, aware of the crowd gathering to watch. "I think we should discuss the rumors you've been spreading, the lies you've been telling about me, the poison you've been dripping into my daughter's ears." Agnes's fan stopped mid-flutter. "I'm sure I don't know what you mean. Mrs. Henderson, your friend. She told my girls that I would love them less now that I'm married. She told them they'd become second place in their own family." Clara's voice rose, carrying across the churchyard. "What kind of woman says that to children who've already lost one mother?" Murmurs rippled through the crowd. "I simply expressed concern," Agnes said stiffly. "Those poor girls have been through so much. To have a stranger thrust upon them as a mother figure—" "I'm not a stranger. I'm their mama. They chose me, and I chose them. And no amount of gossip is going to change that." "A month is hardly enough time to—" "A month is enough time to nurse a child through a fever that could have killed her." Clara's voice cracked. "A month is enough time to hold a man while he weeps with fear for his daughter's life." "A month is enough time to become family in every way that matters." Agnes's face had gone from purple to white. You were only making yourself feel important by tearing down someone else. That's all you've ever done." Clara took another step forward. "I know women like you, Mrs. Hartley.
You're so unhappy with your own life that you can't stand seeing others find happiness. So you pick at them, poke at them, try to make their joy smaller so you don't have to face how empty your own existence is. How dare you? I dare because I'm done being afraid of you. Clara's voice rang out across the churchyard. I'm done letting your words have power over me. I'm done letting you hurt my family with your cruelty. The crowd had gone completely silent. Even the children had stopped playing. Agnes drew herself up to her full height. You're making a spectacle of yourself. No, I'm standing up for myself. Maybe for the first time in my life.
Clara felt Sam's hand close around hers, felt the twins pressing close against her legs. I came to this town with nothing. No money, no family, no prospects. A man took one look at me and decided I wasn't worth keeping. And you and your friends, decided that made me worthless. Something to mock. Something to pity. Clara, Sam started. I'm not finished. Clara squeezed his hand. But here's what you didn't count on. Someone saw me differently. Someone looked past all the things Edgar Prescott found lacking and saw something worth fighting for. And now I have a husband who loves me, daughters who call me Mama, and a home where I belong. She met Agnes's eyes directly. What do you have, Mrs. Hartley? What do you have that's worth all this effort to tear down what I've built? Agnes's mouth opened, closed, opened again. No words came out. That's what I thought. Clara turned to Sam. I'm ready to go home now. They walked through the crowd together, the twins holding their hands, heads held high. People parted to let them pass. Some were staring with shock. Others, Helen, Walter, a few women Clara didn't recognize, were actually smiling. Clara, Helen caught her arm as she passed. That was magnificent. I'm sorry if I caused a scene. Don't you dare apologize. Agnes has had that coming for years. You just said what the rest of us have been too polite to say. They rode home in silence, but it was a comfortable silence. The silence of a battle won, a fear conquered, a declaration made. When they pulled up to the ranch, Sam helped Clara down and held her close for a long moment. I've never been prouder of anyone in my life, he murmured against her hair. I was terrified. Didn't show. Good. Clara pulled back to look at him. I meant every word, you know, about what you gave me, about what we've built. I know. Sam's gray eyes were soft. I love you, Clara Thornton. I love you too. Mama! Papa! The twins had scrambled out of the wagon and were dancing around them. Mama was so brave. She made Mrs. Hartley stop talking. I did, didn't I? Clara laughed, scooping Rose up in her arms. Turns out I had some things to say. You should say things more often, Lily announced. You're good at it. The rest of the summer unfolded in long golden days of work and laughter. The garden flourished under Clara's care, producing more vegetables than they could eat. She started preserving the excess, jarring pickles, putting up tomatoes, drying herbs for winter. Where did you learn to do all this? Sam asked one evening, watching her seal another jar. My mother. Before she died, she taught me everything she knew about keeping a home. Clara wiped her hands on her apron. I never thought I'd use any of it. Never thought I'd have a home of my own to keep. And now? Now I can't imagine any other life. She moved to where he sat and settled onto his lap. Is this really happening? Is this really my life? It's really happening. Sam wrapped his arms around her. Every day for the rest of our lives, this is happening. Good. Clara laid her head on his shoulder. Because I never want to wake up. Autumn arrived in a blaze of gold and crimson. The girls started proper lessons with Clara, sitting at the kitchen table each afternoon to practice their letters and numbers. Their reading improved rapidly. Their confidence grew. I can read a whole page now, Lily announced one day, brandishing a book Clara had ordered from town. Want to hear? I'd love to.
Lily read slowly, carefully, her finger tracing each word. When she finished, she looked up with shining eyes. "Did I do good?" "You did wonderfully." Clara hugged her tight. "I'm so proud of you." "Can I read the next page too?" "You can read as many pages as you want."
Rose was quieter these days, often found staring at Mary's photograph with a thoughtful expression. Clara watched her from a distance, not wanting to intrude, but worried nonetheless. One afternoon, she found Rose in the room they'd set up with Mary's picture. "Can I join you?" Rose nodded, scooting over to make room. "Do you remember her?" Clara asked softly. "Your first mama?" "Sometimes. Little things. The way she smelled. The sound of her voice." Rose was quiet for a moment. "I used to be scared I'd forget her completely. That one day I'd wake up and she'd be gone from my head, the way she's gone from everywhere else." "Are you still scared of that?" "Not as much." Rose looked at Clara. "Because now I have you to help me remember. You can tell me about the photograph, and I can tell you about the memories. And between us, maybe we can keep her alive somehow." Clara's throat tightened. "I think that's a beautiful idea." "Mama?" Rose used the word carefully, deliberately. "Is it okay that I love you both? Her and you? Is that allowed?" "Oh, sweetheart." Clara pulled the girl close. "That's not just allowed. That's exactly how it should be. Love expands, remember? It doesn't replace. Loving me doesn't mean you love her less. It means your heart has room for both of us." "I'm glad you're here," Rose whispered. "I'm glad Papa found you." "I'm glad too. So glad." They sat together in the quiet room, looking at Mary's photograph. The woman who had loved these children first. The woman who had made this family possible. "Thank you," Clara said silently to the image. "Thank you for them. I promise to take care of what you built." Winter came hard and fast, blanketing the ranch in white by mid-November. The cold was brutal, worse than anything Clara had experienced in Boston. But there was a different quality to it here, a clean sharpness that felt honest somehow. The family drew closer together as the temperature dropped. They spent long evenings by the fire, Sam reading aloud while Clara mended clothes and the twins worked on their lessons. Sometimes they played games, cards or checkers, or the word games Clara invented to help with reading. "I like winter," Lily announced one night, snuggled between her parents on the worn sofa. "Everything slows down, and we all get to be together more." "I like it too," Rose agreed, "even if my toes get cold." "Come here." Sam pulled both girls onto his lap. "I'll warm your toes." "Papa, that tickles." Clara watched them, her heart so full it ached. This was what she'd been searching for her whole life. Not romance, or passion, or grand gestures. Just this. A family gathered together against the cold, laughing and squirming and loving each other in the simple, ordinary way that made extraordinary lives. Sam caught her eye over the girls' heads. "What are you thinking?" "That I'm happy," Clara smiled. "Ridiculously, impossibly happy." "Good." He reached over and took her hand. That was the plan. Christmas arrived with a fresh snowfall that had the twins bouncing off the walls with excitement. They'd been whispering together for weeks, working on secret projects that they refused to show their parents. "It's a surprise," Rose insisted whenever Clara asked. "You'll see on Christmas morning." Christmas morning came gray and cold, but the house was warm with the smell of the cinnamon rolls Clara had made. The twins woke before dawn, as predicted, and dragged their parents downstairs to the small tree Sam had cut and decorated. "Open your presents first," Lily urged. "The ones from us." Clara unwrapped hers carefully, a handkerchief the girls had embroidered with shaky letters that spelled Mama.
Sam's was similar, reading Papa in the same uneven stitches.
"We made them ourselves," Rose explained anxiously. "Mrs. Helen taught us how. Do you like them?"
Clara pressed the handkerchief to her heart, unable to speak.
"Mama, are you crying?" Happy tears. Clara gathered both girls into her arms. "These are the most beautiful presents I've ever received." "Really?" "Really and truly. I'll treasure them forever." The girls beamed, their anxiety dissolving into pure joy. Sam cleared his throat. "I have something for you too." He produced a small wooden box, carved with intricate flowers. Inside, nestled in velvet, sat a simple gold band. "I know you already have a wedding ring," he said gruffly, "but I wanted you to have this too. It was my mother's. She gave it to me before she died. Said I should give it to someone worthy." He met her eyes. "I've never known anyone more worthy than you." Clara's hands shook as she took the ring. "Sam, you don't have to wear it. I just wanted you to have it, to know that you're part of this family in every way, past, present, and future." Clara slipped the ring onto her finger, next to her wedding band. It fit perfectly.
"I'll wear it always,"
she whispered.
"Always."
The girls cheered and demanded their own presents, and the moment passed in a flurry of torn paper and excited squeals. But Clara kept touching the ring on her finger, feeling its weight and warmth. She belonged, completely and permanently and unquestionably. She was home. Spring arrived like a gift, thawing the frozen ground and bringing new life to the ranch. Clara spent long days in the garden, preparing the soil for planting, while the girls helped with endless enthusiasm, if not always effectiveness.
"I found a worm," Lily announced proudly. "Can I keep it?" "Worms are happier in the garden." "But I named it already. It's called Henry." "Henry the worm can live in the garden, and you can visit him whenever you want."
Lily considered this compromise, then nodded.
"Okay, but I get to choose where he lives." "Fair enough."
Sam appeared from the barn, wiping his hands on a rag. "Got a letter from town. Walter brought it out." Clara's heart stuttered. Letters rarely brought good news in her experience.
"What does it say?"
"Haven't opened it yet. It's addressed to you." Clara took the envelope with trembling fingers. The handwriting was unfamiliar. The postmark from Boston. "Go ahead," Sam said gently. "Whatever it is, we'll face it together." She tore open the envelope and scanned the contents. Then she read it again, certain she'd misunderstood. "Clara, what is it?" "It's from my aunt." Clara's voice came out strange and distant. "She's dying. Consumption. She wants to see me before—" She couldn't finish the sentence. "Do you want to go?" The question hung in the air. This woman who had made Clara's life miserable for 2 years, who had treated her like an unwanted servant, who had sent her west to be rid of her.
"I don't know," Clara admitted. "I don't know what I feel."
"You don't have to decide right now."
"She said she's sorry."
Clara looked up at Sam, her eyes wet.
"In the letter,
she said she's sorry for how she treated me. She said she didn't know any other way to be, but she knows now that she was wrong. Do you believe her?"
"I don't know."
Clara folded the letter carefully.
"But I think I need to find out."
The journey back to Boston took 3 weeks. Clara traveled alone. Sam couldn't leave the ranch, and she didn't want to uproot the girls for something so uncertain. "Come back to us," Sam said as he put her on the train. "Whatever happens there, come back. Wild horses couldn't stop me." "I love you, Clara Thornton."
"I love you too. Take care of our girls."
Always. Her aunt's house looked smaller than Clara remembered. Shabbier. The woman lying in the bed bore little resemblance to the sharp-tongued tyrant who'd made her life miserable.
"You came."
The voice was a whisper, barely audible.
"I came. I didn't think you would. After everything."
Clara sat in the chair beside the bed. Neither did I.
Silence stretched between them. Then her aunt spoke again. "I was cruel to you. I knew it even then. You reminded me of your mother, my sister, and I was jealous. She always got everything, the beauty, the happiness, the love. And then she died, and I had to take care of her daughter, and all I could see was everything she'd had that I never would. That wasn't my fault." "No, it wasn't." Her aunt's eyes, cloudy with illness, met hers. "I'm not asking you to forgive me. I don't deserve that. I just wanted you to know, it was never about you. You were never lacking. I was the one who was lacking." Clara felt something shift inside her. Not forgiveness, exactly, but something close. Understanding, maybe. Or release. "I'm married now," she said, "to a good man. I have 2 daughters, twin girls." "Are you happy?" "Yes, incredibly happy." Her aunt smiled, a weak twist of lips that held genuine warmth for the first time Clara could remember. "Good. That's good. That's all I wanted to know." She closed her eyes. "You can go now, Clara. Go back to your family. Live the life you deserve." Clara stayed until the end, 3 days later. She held her aunt's hand as she slipped away, and she cried, not for the woman her aunt had been, but for the woman she might have been if life had shaped her differently. Then she got on a train and went home. Sam and the girls were waiting at the station when she arrived. The twins spotted her first, breaking free from their father's hands to race down the platform. "Mama! Mama! You're back!" Clara dropped to her knees and caught them both, holding them so tight she couldn't tell where she ended and they began. "I missed you," she whispered. "I missed you so much." "We missed you too. Papa was sad the whole time. He tried to hide it, but we could tell." Sam reached them, pulling Clara to her feet and into his arms. "Welcome home." "It's good to be home." "How was it? Your aunt?" "Gone 3 days ago." Clara leaned into his chest. "I'm glad I went. I think I needed to. But I'm even more glad to be back." "Was it hard?" "Parts of it, but it also made me realize something." She pulled back to look at him. "I spent so many years feeling like I wasn't enough, like there was something wrong with me that made people not want me. But it was never about me at all. It was about them, their fears, their inadequacies, their inability to love. And now? Now I know the truth." Clara touched his face, rough with several days' stubble. "I am enough. I always was. I just needed to find people who could see it." "I see it," Sam said softly. "I've always seen it." "I know." She kissed him, right there on the platform, in front of the whole town. "That's why I love you." The ride back to the ranch felt like traveling through a dream. The familiar landscape rolled past, more beautiful than Clara remembered. The mountains, the grassland, the endless sky. All of it hers now. All of it home. "Mama," Rose's voice came from the wagon bed. "While you were gone, we made you something." "Another surprise?" "A different kind of surprise." Lily appeared beside her sister. "We asked Papa to help us, but he said we had to do it ourselves, because it was important." They produced a piece of paper, folded and slightly crumpled from being hidden. Clara unfolded it carefully. Inside, in the girl's best handwriting, were words that made her heart stop. "We, Rose and Lily Thornton, do hereby declare that Clara Thornton is our mama, forever and always, no matter what anyone says.
Signed this day, in the year of our Lord 1878. Beneath the declaration were two shaky signatures, witnessed by Sam's steadier hand. It's official now, Rose said solemnly. We made it legal. It's not technically legal, Lily admitted, but it feels legal, and that's what matters. Clara pressed the paper to her chest, tears streaming down her face.
This is the most precious thing anyone has ever given me. More precious than Papa's ring? Just as precious. Equally precious. She reached back and pulled both girls forward for a hug. You two are my greatest treasures. You know that, don't you? We know, Mama. We've always known.
Sam pulled the wagon to a stop in front of the house. Their house. Their home. The place where their family lived and loved and grew. Welcome home, Mrs. Thornton, he said, helping her down. Clara stood in the yard, looking at everything she'd built. The garden flourishing in the spring sun. The house that had become a home. The man she loved. The daughters who had claimed her as their own. 1 year ago, she'd been standing on a train platform, watching a stranger tear up her photograph. 1 year ago, she'd had nothing. No money, no family, no future. Now she had everything.
Mama, come inside,
Lily called from the porch.
We have more surprises. More? How many surprises can there be? Lots. We had weeks to plan.
Clara laughed and followed her daughters into the house, Sam's hand warm in hers. There would be more challenges ahead, more winters to survive, more gossip to weather, more ordinary days that made up an extraordinary life. But whatever came, they would face it together, because that's what families did. Years later, when people asked Clara Thornton how she'd come to Wyoming, she would tell them the story. The train ride, the rejection, the torn photograph, the man who'd seen her worth when no one else could. Weren't you angry, they'd ask, at the man who rejected you? For a while, Clara would say, but not anymore. He did me the greatest favor of my life. He showed me that some doors close so better ones can open. And the door that opened? Clara would smile then, looking across the room at her husband, her daughters, the grandchildren that would eventually come. The door that opened led me home. She had arrived in Wyoming territory, a rejected bride with nothing to her name. She had become Clara Thornton, wife, mother, beloved member of a community that had eventually learned to see her worth. She had built a life from the ruins of her dreams, and that life had exceeded every expectation she'd ever had. And on quiet evenings, when the sun painted the mountains gold and her family gathered around her, Clara would close her eyes and whisper a prayer of thanks. For second chances, for stubborn men and fierce little girls, for the strange ways that heartbreak could lead to healing, for home. The woman who had been left on a station platform with nothing but a torn photograph had found everything she'd ever needed. Not in spite of her rejection, because of it. Clara Jane Thornton was finally, completely, and forever home.